This is indeed a historic day. We know that as we meet here in Parliament Square, inside that place, our MPs are debating whether or not they should replace Trident. Some of the tweets I've been reading about points that are being made show me that our MPs, or a lot of our MPs, need a considerable amount of education about Trident, about how much it costs, about the fact that it's a weapon of mass destruction, and about the fact that it does nothing to meet any of the security challenges that we face today.
I'm here today on behalf of all of the SNP members in that building across the road to pledge our support. I do want to say to you though, there are some bizarre aspects about what is happening across the road at the minute. The first is that it's happening at all at this time, because this is not a sensible debate about policy options for the defence of this country. This is a bit of political manoeuvring designed by the Conservative Party to try and score points off the opposition. And it is an act of bad politics and bad policy to ask the legislature of the country to come together and take a decision on what will probably be the biggest ever spending commitment that this government takes without any figures at all in front of it. So much for respect and concern for the British taxpayer that this government claims that it's in favour of. This isn't the start of the campaign, and it won't be the end of it neither. And the SNP will with you until we get this changed.
The Green Party has always and will always stand united against Trident. With the Brexit vote just this month, that means that hundreds of thousands of jobs are at risk. The focus should be on our communities, on building our country, and not looking at nuclear weapons and the potential job creation that they'd have.
I will be voting against the Trident nuclear weapon system. Because you cannot, in an era of austerity, when hospitals are being cut, when local authorities are having their money cut, when education is being cut and the burden on students is increasing, you cannot justify the billions of pounds of expenditure on Trident, a weapon that we could never use.
We've been campaigning against nuclear weapons ever since they were invented. I'm here to tell you why Quakers say no to Trident and why we are calling on MPs over there to vote against renewing it this evening. Quakers oppose Trident because morality is important. It's morally unacceptable for Britain to own weapons of mass destruction, now or in the future. We oppose Trident because people are important. We are all children of God, and we shouldn't go around killing one another. We oppose Trident because peace is important. We want to live in a peaceful world. And you don't build peace by threatening people, but by looking for non-violent solutions to conflict. We believe a world without nuclear weapons would be a safer and not a more dangerous place.
Why is this vote happening now on July the 18th? It's happening for political advantage. That is why it is happening. The new Prime Minister, Theresa May, is determined to show that she's tough and can stand up for herself and can act in order to make sure that this country has nuclear weapons. And her party, and unfortunately some in the Labour Party, are also using this as a means of attacking the leader of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, who has a marvellous record on opposition to nuclear weapons, on opposition to war. Is that this isn't the first or last time that we've seen this. What did we see in December last year? Exactly the same process when they voted to bomb Syria, again against the wishes of Jeremy Corbyn. What did we see last week after the Chilcot report, which showed the absolute duplicity of Tony Blair when he was Prime Minister? What do we find? A debate which goes on for 2 days where MP after MP gets up and says, yes, we were wrong about Iraq, but we did it in good faith. We need something a little bit better than good faith. We need some good judgment, and we need some honest accounting for the people who've taken us into war after war over the last 15 years. Who've created absolute havoc in the Middle East and South Asia, and who are doing it all again, and who learn nothing. The same people who voted for these wars will be the same people who vote to renew Trident. They will be the same people who have supported all those policies. And we have to say, really, enough is enough. And that whatever happens tonight, we are going to stay on the streets and we're going to stay organised in order to make sure that the anti-war and peace voice, which is so important in this country and which is so well represented in this country, begins to be represented in the House of Commons, which it is not at the moment.
We don't want nuclear weapons in Scotland. That is very clear. The SNP has been elected and re-elected and re-elected on no nuclear weapons. We want to be a nuclear-free zone. Now, in Scotland, what our rallying cry is, it's bairns, not bombs.
Spending nearly 200 billion pounds on an unusable, illegal and probably obsolete weapon of mass destruction is just a criminal waste of money, full stop. Jeremy Corbyn made a principled, clear speech against, and as did Angus Robertson, leader of the SNP, and as did Crispin Blunt, the Conservative chair of the Defence Committee. It's not on one side of the House only. But the arguments, some of them have been facile and stupid, some of them have been clearly self-serving, and some of them have been principled. But what we have in one day is a decision to go ahead with this weapon systems, or at least with the submarines, on the basis of just one further day. Something that Theresa May has sprung on us in order to assert her authority as Prime Minister, and in order to put the Labour Party in an even worse hole than they're in at the moment. It's a blank cheque for a weapon of mass destruction, and I won't be signing it in there tonight.
The people who had to deal with the fallout in Chernobyl and who had to rebuild their lives, again, abandoned in ignorance by their communities and in shame by their states and by those who hoarded these weapons, and for whom the biggest mistake was dealt with by those on the ground again, and who have been cast aside and have to watch the weeds grow, not just on the ruins, but on their lives as well. We should take a minute to stop and think about those people, because accidents are just as damaging as strikes when you're the one that has to deal with it for decades and decades and generations and generations. And we need to go back to our communities and build and draw the connections and build the solidarity in action on the ground, educating, sharing and empowering each other. Because those people need to understand we are the ones in charge and they should be doing our bidding. Solidarity.